But on that note, we slip into a quick break right here on the show. And coming up on the other side, aside from N. Srinivasan, the final investigation report on the UPL spot fixing scandal names the IPL CEO Sundar Raman Rajasthan Royals co-owner Raj Kundra. But in the meantime, I just want to take note of some of the more important flashes which are coming in on your screen. And yes, something that has been in the works for quite some time. Finance Ministry sources are indicating that that the FIPB rather has in fact approved the clearance for HDFC Bank's foreign investment plans. What we understand is that the FIPB has approved 15 FDI approvals, and this is out of 26 FDI approvals. Remember, this has been quite a bit of a long pending proposal that has been taking place with respect to HDFC Bank. You saw the stock price, in fact, ahead of this announcement. Here's how it wrapped up in trades today, ending at the day's high. Perhaps a lot of investors have been anticipating this news, so it closed up very firmly in the green. Let's bring on board then ASHWIN Parekh, who joins in with his perspective on this story. ASHWIN.
Yeah.
Just wanted to talk a little bit about this big news that's come in with respect to the FIPB approving the clearance of the foreign investment plan. This has been something that has been in the works for some time now. How would you be reading into this?
Quite positively. I must say, that there's a very pragmatic view that has been taken. For the first time, we find that in the BFC and in the banking sector, a certain approach to the approval for non-resident equity holding has been taken. In the past, in the finance sector, we've seen insurance regulator, looking at it, in a progressive manner. And I'm very glad that FIPB has really gone about approving this particular, this particular case. One must say, that both HDFC and HDFC Bank have really earned a lot of respect and confidence from the foreign investors. And in some form, FIPB approval is a good reflection, of even the economy, the government, and the department taking a favorable view to really allowing HDFC, that is a bank, to grow its foreign equity to 67.55% as it is proposed now. I'm really pleased, I must admit.
Okay, we've also got with us Mehrabun Irani joining in from Nirmal Bang with his perspective on the same. Mehrabun, this has been something that has been in the works. Finally, the news has come out, the FIPB's clearance for the foreign investment plan for HDFC Bank. Certainly a step in the positive direction.
100% yes. I think in all possible ways you look at it, it's a positive. I think from the terms of opening up or allowing permission, that is definitely a positive. The things are working in the right direction. For HDFC Bank, 100% positive news. For the shareholders, also 100% positive news. I said this overhang has been there for the last few months, where people knew that this limit was getting breached and no further bank will be allowed for foreign investors. And that has definitely limited the upside for the stock, if one looks at it. So relatively, this has been a great underperformer as a stock, HDFC Bank, in the last 3 months, mainly because of this. MSCI dropped it from the index. That was again mainly because of this. So with this announcement coming through, I think HDFC Bank, I'm sure, will find a way out and possibly making some placement here and there at the end of it and allowing FIIs to possibly buy into the stock more. So as a stock, this was a core holding of ours, it's a perennial holding. We have advised our investors, and I've always had this view on television also, that this is a stock which you should just buy and forget about it. And I personally feel the upside which has got capped in the last 3 months, I think there will be definitely decent room for upside as far as the stock goes.
And this is certainly going to enable the bank also to raise capital going forward. So in that vein, how do you see the prospects shaping up for HDFC Bank going forward, Mehrabun?
This is exactly what I was stating. If you want to make money in a stock like HDFC Bank as an investor, you need to remain invested in the stock, because as and when this approval comes through, it's a question of time. That is what I was telling it. That is what I was mentioning. I think it took a little longer than what I thought, but at last it's happened, and it's a very big positive. I think the bank will raise the money, and therefore the cap which was there, the percentage will come down, and the foreign investors will be able to buy more. So I think as far as raising of money of HDFC Bank goes, that is definitely a positive, but it will also be a way in which possibly the percentage shareholding for the FIs will automatically come down on the increased capital, and therefore their buying will be permitted. And you can assume very safely that there are a whole lot of foreign funds who are ready to possibly buy into the stock as and when the limit opens up.
Right. Mr. Parikh, this question comes to you. In fact, we are understanding that FIPB has given RBI the discretion or the decision that will they treat HDFC, which is the promoter holding, will they treat it as foreign or not? So now it actually remains in the hands of RBI's decision of how to take the promoter HDFC Limited as a stake as a foreign holding, or just to do away with that. What is your take on this?
Yeah, see, I mean, cases such as these have to be dealt with on a on a one-on-one basis. Now, I mean, we are not going to have too many exceptions, but if there are, then I suppose if the bank is progressed well, if the bank has demonstrated a certain order of governance, and if that entity has been able to get good support from the foreign investors, equity investors, then I suppose even the regulator may take a little constructive approach or a positive approach. I don't think there is a larger overhang of this being treated as a policy. I mean, time and again, we've come across situations where matters have to be dealt with on a case-to-case basis. And I mean, I would say certainly this is one of those matters where the regulator, I'm certain, will consider it on a case-to-case basis, on a one-on-one basis, basically.
I urge you, Mr. Parikh, as well as Mehrabun, to please stay on with us. We will continue the discussion, but let's bring online our reporter then, Ruchi Bhatia, with all of the intricate details regarding this crucial FIPB nod. It was much awaited and finally has come through. It's certainly been viewed as a big positive, Ruchi, from what we're garnering from our experts as well.
I wonder if it is really going to be a good news for HDFC, simply because although the FIPB has gone ahead and has approved the FDI proposal, but we need to understand the technicalities here. What the FIPB has said is, if you include FDI, FII, GDR and ADR limit, now if you include all this limit, the HDFC can go ahead and maintain the FII, FDI, ADR and GDR limit at 74%. Whether they have gone ahead and regularized it and what is the quantum of penalty is something that only RBI can decide. They've clearly said that HDFC Limited's 22.5% stake A is foreign holding, and remember, if you add the 49% stake that was already there that the FIIs were holding, plus if you add this HDFC's 22.5% stake, that this clearly means that the foreign shareholding reaches the level of 73.8%. That means the foreign investors will have very little stake left, because what the FIPB has clearly said is that the cap at which the FII limit is stands at 74%.
Yes, that's a very interesting point that you've brought, Ruchi, and I think I'd like to take that on board to Mr. Parikh. Mr. Parikh, I'm sure you just heard Ruchi talk about some of those concerns. First up, with the quantum of penalty being in the hands of RBI to decide it, how much of a contentious issue is this going to be viewed at with respect to HDFC Bank?
Yeah, see, the technicality involved over here is something that has to be well evaluated and examined. See, what we're talking about is that HDFC Limited has 22.56% equity in HDFC Bank. Now, 77% of HDFC Limited is held by foreign investors. Now, I mean, on one side, if you take a constructive view, if you take a progressive view, you may still take a view that HDFC Limited is an Indian company. It's an Indian company registered in India very much and completely doing its work in India. In that context, therefore, a proportionate or a direct investment made by HDFC into HDFC Bank, should it be treated as foreign investment, is a question on hand. I mean, I would once again believe that if you deal with this particular subject on a policy level, then perhaps the answer may be no. However, if you do it on a case-to-case basis, a prime institution in the country I mean, in housing finance on one side, owning a bank and putting up a bank with just about 22% equity on it. So there is no direct management control. There is no direct management hold, not into day-to-day working of the bank at all, by no stretch of any imagination. In such a situation, perhaps I believe that both the penalty should be waived, may be waived, and I do believe that at the same time, a more progressive view should be taken, and the bank should be allowed to raise its equity, to 74% by treating HDFC Limited as an Indian kind of equity investor, basically.
Mehrabun, and I'd like to get in your views on that. I think Mr. Parikh brought up a very interesting point. Proportionate investment by HDFC, should it be treated as an investment? That's really the question at hand. And as our reporter also flagged off, with respect to the foreign investors, now will have very little stake left, given that the limit is going to be capped.
I agree fully in the sense that the reporter bringing out that particular point is something, and Mr. Parikh also mentioning, I think definitely fully agree with that. I think even I am assuming somewhere, I think like Mr. Parikh was mentioning, even I am assuming somewhere that this HDFC shareholding in HDFC Bank, ultimately, some progressive decision will be made. Because if you ask any decent investor today about this HDFC shareholding in HDFC Bank being considered to be a foreign shareholding, I think that itself, according to me, is a little bit debatable. But considering it's coming from a decent authority, one is hoping that with this particular FIPB approval coming, hopefully something positive will come at that particular end also. So I think it is definitely not a very clear road right now, but certainly a decent step forward for HDFC Bank ultimately to be permitted to raise some equity, as a result of which foreign investors can possibly buy more into the counter.
Right. Mr. Parikh, this question actually comes to you. How do you think that RBI would actually be dealing with this case now? Now the ball is in RBI's court. How do you think the RBI would deal with the parent, the promoter, HDFC Limited stake in HDFC Bank? Will it consider it foreign, or will it not consider it foreign?
Well, a little difficult to answer straight away, because, I mean, what is there on the regulator's mind at this point in time? It's difficult to really guess or to really think. But I mean, I would still say that, if the matter is dealt with on a case-to-case basis, that even if, let's say, the regulator were to decide in favor of allowing HDFC Bank to raise its foreign equity limits, and make it very clear that this is actually being done on a specific case basis after examining every aspect of, i.e. the way the business is being conducted, the way the board is constituted, the extent to which Indian shareholders and foreign shareholders can influence the working of HDFC Bank. I mean, if all those material facts are being considered, then perhaps, the regulator may take a progressive or a constructive view. And once again, if it is clarified that it's not a policy, nor is it that for all times to come such an approach could be taken, but on a case-to-case basis, after examining more details on the case, the regulator may perhaps, come out with something more progressive and allow HDFC Bank to raise its limit.
I think that's the consensus view that both our experts have. The RBI is going to view this very progressively, and a decision in that vein is likely to be made. Thank you so much, Mr. Parikh, for taking time out and joining in with your expert views. Mehrabun, it's been great having you with us. Thanks very much for joining in. Poonam, as well, thanks for giving us all of those details from our research desk. But with that, we'll slip into a quick break, come right back with more.